Well, it looks like the newly crowned King Charles is feeling his power. He is showing that he is the real star of the royal family and the publicity-obsessed traitors. Harry and Meghan are pathetic losers, according to well-placed palace officials. A senior courtier reports the royal gloves are off. His Majesty is done with the drama that's ripped the family apart and threatened the monarchy. Since the Duke and Duchess of Sussex quit and moved to America 2 years ago, he has taken control and is showing his rebel son and daughter-in-law, whose box. Essentially, right after the coronation was over, the 74-year-old king fired the first salvo across Meghan and Harry's bow, making a surprise appearance on American Idol, along with his wife, Queen Camilla. Katy Perry and Lionel Richie performed at the coronation concert, and they felt surprised when the newly crowned king and queen walked into the throne room at Buckingham Palace. And Charles said on the live show feed, "I just wanted to check how long you will be using this room." And, of course, people across the Atlantic absolutely love this little comment. It was a masterstroke of one-upmanship by His Majesty. According to the palace source, he delivered a very direct message to the Sussexes: "Don't mess with me." It was no accident he chose to appear on a US TV show. That's Meghan's turf. And I'm told both Charles and Camilla knew it would get her attention, and her. And only a few minutes, Charles managed to upstage the former mattress actress and showed that he's the real SULK. Meanwhile, Meghan is floundering in the zealous ranks, and he's not finished yet. Charles is now in charge, says the courtier. His new offensive against Meghan and Harry is working, and their apparent plan to bring them the monarchy is failing miserably, according to new poll numbers. In spite of Meghan accusing the royal family of being racist and cruel in Harry's horrible memoirs, Spare and also their royal bashy Netflix docu-series, the people of the UK are still supporting the monarchy. Over 20 million UK viewers watched the coronation, that dwarfed the 17.9 million who watched Meghan and Harry's 2018 wedding. And the palace says, if Harry and Meghan thought their scandalous revelations and allegations would turn the country against the royals, it's back by your big time. It's their popularity that's plummeted on both sides of the Atlantic. And behind closed doors, that king and queen could not be more thrilled. He is the oldest monarch ever crowned. And so it's not like Charles has a very long time to establish his legacy. Destructive royal traitor should remember that he's got the power to make or break them. And he is not afraid of. You think it? Another interesting bit of news that could spell trouble for Meghan and Harry is the Spotify exec, Don Ostrov, who signed a multi-million-dollar deal with Harry and Meghan, left as hundreds of jobs were cut. So that's basically millions of dollars right down the drain and very little to show for it. I still remember back in 2021. What happened? There were so many people who were shocked when they saw the figures are being tossed around. $30 million, I think, and penciled in on the promise of future revenue. And what exactly does Spotify get for all that money? Well, at least in 2021. Not much more than bragging, right, to have a couple of fake royals on the books. So after many months of absolutely nothing, Spotify decided to hire their own people to help Meghan and Harry with producing something, anything, really. So they managed to put together a first piece of work from the two of them, a 35-minute-long holiday podcast that featured people like Elton John and Deepak Chopra, Tyler Perry, James Gordon, and some others, too. And then after that little joint venture at Christmas, there was radio silence. In spite of the fact that there were still mega millions of revenue still to bring in to pay for Meghan and Harry's contract. And what about Meghan series archetypes? How much bang for buck does that actually produce for Spotify? Well, after a pretty long way, they eventually got 12 episodes out of Meghan, starting off large on 23 August and 2022 with Mariah Carey, followed by Serena Williams in episode 2. And that was basically it. So Paris Hilton got a gig with somebody. I'm not sure who in episode 4. and then already by the 6th episode 3, basically unknown guests were being shoved in because essentially somebody had to stop Megan from talking about herself for a whole episode. Serena and Maria basically founding in their discussions with Meghan that she didn't care about what they had to say. She only wanted to hear herself talk. And, well, by the 9th and 10th episodes, nobody had ever heard of the guests other than a few niche markets in the US, maybe, and even most of those were at that point just scratching their heads. Thanks to Meghan's self-rantings. So Archetypes finished on November 29th, after its 12th episode, hit the skids with somebody or another. Nobody very memorable. In signing off, Meghan was supposedly cryptic about the future of the series in 2023. After a conclusion in 2022. Yeah, I'm sure she was. I tried to listen to a little bit of it, but honestly, folks, it was rough. It seemed to me like Meghan was doing her best to reinforce the stereotypes, like Dragon Lady in the midst of the angry black woman, because, of course, Meghan wasn't really interested in her guests or in their issues. She had to make sure that she was front and center in every single episode. And honestly, until Meghan started talking about it, I had never even heard of the Dragon Lady myth. And I think the podcast were not made for markets outside the US. Anyway. And even then, for very few people actually outside of Meghan's woke brigade. So what exactly has MEGHAN produced for Spotify since Archetypes? I mean, has anybody been able to confirm that a second series of Archetypes is going to happen? Anybody?